The goal of the Trump administration is to get us to surrender our humanity.
Mayor Brandon Johnson continued to reinforce his sanctuary city status to fight back against President Donald Trump's immigration policies.
Okay, what you're just watching there is part of a preview video posted by the House Oversight Committee ahead of today's hearing with several big city mayors, including Brandon Johnson. The committee's focus is to make sanctuary city mayors defend their policies from those who staunchly oppose them in Washington. But one concern by civil rights groups is that today's hearing will focus only on immigration and not what they say is a wider effort by the Republican Party to make sure what the president wants overrides what states and cities want. And for that perspective, we're joined by the ACLU's Ed Yonkha this morning. Thanks, Ed, for being with me. That, of course, is the American Civil Liberties Union. You know, these types of hearings are not uncommon, right? They're often partisan, they're often combative and heated.
And theatrical.
And I was going to say, and often a dog and pony show, right? They take place and then they end.
Yes.
Why is the ACLU concerned about the implications of today's hearing?
These are four mayors who have policies that say that their police are not going to enforce federal civil immigration law, that they're instead going to concentrate on problems in neighborhoods and communities. What the Republicans and what the White House wants is for the White House to be able to dictate how Chicago defines our policies, what we do in terms of policing, and if they can do that on this issue, then they can do that on a host of issues. And pretty soon, we have a world where the president sets our values and how we respect civil rights and civil liberties rather than the people of Chicago.
Do you think that the implications of the hearing today could actually trickle down into having that broader implication, though?
I think what we see is the way in which the president is trying to lead people in that way. Look, yesterday the president took to social media to declare that he would decide what protests were illegal at universities and then expel students for it. He doesn't have any role in that, but if he can begin to say he gets to decide that, then he's the one who's setting what our rights are, what our, what we're able to do as individuals, rather than us making those decisions either for ourselves or at the state or local level.
I know, and there seems to be a lot of contradiction, right? Because President Trump has talked about, for instance, with abortion rights, despite the federal ruling, states should have the right to decide.
Right.
But yet then he says on other issues, he is the,
he's the decider. Yeah, exactly.
If you will. So really quickly, what, for people who don't agree with what's happening today, are concerned like you, because many people do in our country right now, what would the next step be? And you have to keep it quick, because you know.
What I would say is actually look at the studies that show that having these policies in place, like in Chicago, actually make our communities safer. The communities where they're enforcing federal civil immigration law, those places are actually less safe than a city like Chicago.
Okay, certainly lots of people keeping an eye on today's hearings for so many different reasons. Ed Yonkha
Exactly.
with the ACLU, thank you for
Good
being
to see
here.
you, Dana.
We appreciate it this morning.